What is up, my thrifty friends? Tabs here from the Urban Goddess shop. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we're going over something pretty juicy that happened last week in the reseller world. I meant to talk about it in Monday's Work With Me video and forgot to add it into my notes. So I couldn't wait another week. This needs to be discussed. Canadians are pretty upset right now. What happened was OneShop, which is a software application, did a post. There was some interactions with Canadians that pay for their service, and it just blew up. I found out about this through a Facebook group. It like popped up in my newsfeed and a ton of people were commenting, and I was like, what is going on? We're gonna dive right into the topic. OneShop is a one-stop platform for cross-listing, sharing, and analytics. The software works on 4 platforms: Poshmark, eBay, Depop, and Mercari. The cost is $45 USD, and as of tonight, $61.39 Canadian. Now, personally, I looked into their software. I've heard a few people talk about it and was, trying to see if they would work for me. When I looked into the platforms that they were offering, personally, I kind of found them overpriced and limited to those 4 apps, which only 3 are available in Canada because we don't have Mercari. So basically you were paying $61 Canadian for eBay, Posh, and Depop. I felt like that was overpriced. I do sell on Etsy, which they didn't have access to. I also like to cross-list to Facebook Marketplace, which they didn't have. Because I have a service that covers all those platforms, I couldn't justify jumping ship and going to OneShop. So basically they were paying $65 for offers to likes, sharing, and to relist on Poshmark. They also didn't have ebay.ca, it was just ebay.com. So you had to sell on ebay.com. Now here's the issue with Canadians selling on ebay.com. The shipping options are USPS. We do not have access to global shipping. When I first started selling on eBay, I was on ebay.com, and now I switched over to Canada. I like it because it does calculated shipping, it's in Canadian prices, and yeah, I would personally not sell on ebay.com anymore just because I like the Canadian side. I also don't have cross-border shipping services, so I can't use their global shipping program, and yeah, it's just not an option for me. All right, let's just dive right into what happened. So originally, OneShop made a post into their Facebook page, and it said, what would make you switch over to OneShop business banking account? Things that they're testing right now: checkings account and debit card officially registered for business. You don't need an LLC, part of the OneShop mobile app, earn free instant payouts up to $250 per payout. This is a OneShop MasterCard debit card. It's integrated into OneShop bookkeeping, so cash in, cash out is added to your bookkeeping, and your funds are being secured and kept with our regulated bank partner, Piermont Bank. Sounds like they have, they're looking into something exciting. They're going to be offering their own bank card. Looks like it works with their inventory and their software system, which would be great if you were an American citizen. One of their customers, Melanie, who is a Canadian, she comments, OneShop is so very limited when it comes to anyone out of the country of the US, but we pay the same. Actually more. It cost me $65 for this app. So no, because it doesn't apply to us as usual. So she's saying this because they have been promised, or Canadians were promised through the app, other features, or that they were working on these features, and they never seem to come down the tube to Canadians. So the Canadians, I feel like in OneShop, are just feeling a little bit bitter, like they're doing all this app development, but it's always for the US side. It's rarely available for Canadians. He's asking what people thought, and she gave her honest opinion. No, it wouldn't impact her because it doesn't apply to Canadians. I have spoke to Melanie myself. We were chatting through Facebook, and she said they've had issues. They feel like they've kind of been lured on, carrot dangled in front of them that these improvements were coming. She also stated that she has been with OneShop since they started and has always been a supporter. She said prior to this, she was actually okay overlooking some of their downfalls because she did enjoy their service. But Albert's next comment is kind of what ruined it for her. And I think it's really what ruined it for a lot of people. Albert replies to her, "Hey, I hear you. Tangentially, I can't even say that word. Honestly, every time Canadians act this passive aggressively, it makes me want to shut down access to Canadians. Canada is a very small percent of the customer base, plus we pay a ton more in sales tax there. Plus we have to file with so many local authorities just to sell there. Plus people try to complain that it's more expensive in Canada when the cost of living adjustment suggests that actually the exchange rate is equivalent to cost of living. We like you all and it's great to be even a tiny bit helpful. And we're very thankful, but this is super annoying." I just can't believe he said that. Yeah, there's a whole lot to unpack in this. So Melanie replies, "It's not passive aggressive when it's true. The price is not the issue here. I understand the exchange rate and how it works. What I was saying was that we get left behind because, well, as you stated, we are just too much of a burden. Been with you since day one, but looks to me I can't even state how I feel without the threat of it all ending. Gotcha. Sorry for being annoying." Albert then goes on to comment, "I wanted to share the truth. I have also shared our side of the truth, and now we're both miserable." And I mean, there's more comments under this, but I'm going to stop it at there. There was also a message that was sent to me from someone who is subscribed to OneShop, and this was sent to them from someone who is an admin. So the admin person said, "Yeah, I ran the numbers a little while back, and I think it's very possible that Canadian support is barely making us any money. Scaling the app is very much not free, and ongoing development and maintenance work costs engineering time. I'm happy to do it because there are very few tools available for Canadians and have spent a bunch of time on Canadian cross-listing for eBay because of this. But the amount of abuse we get in exchange is insane. The whole situation just makes me very sad." I don't know what to say about this. I don't like how they use people, expressing their concerns or not being happy with their app as abuse. I think these are people that are just stating the facts, like, we're upset. I wouldn't recommend someone switch to OneShop to get their debit card if you were a Canadian, because it's not available to us. It's not unjust for someone to express concerns when they feel they are not getting equal value to someone else, but paying the same price. Like she said, the issue is not what she's paying, it's the service that she's receiving, and she's paying the same amount as US counterparts. Now, there was a statement made from OneShop, and it's an entire post for Canadians after this. It says it's from Albert, so this was into their Facebook page. He says, "Hi folks, there was a conversation about Canadian users that escalated into someone canceling their subscription and sharing their thoughts of the service and our conduct to other Canadians. They were right to do so. I wanted to bring this to a higher level, out of the comment section for transparency's sake, while also delivering our position. I think in general, there is some confusion around why we don't serve Canadians the same as US customers. Forgive the wordiness, trying to use more words and less since this is a complicated topic. Canadians represent about 5% of the OneShop user base. US customers represent 95%. We are very thankful for Canadian customers, and anything we can do to help, even if it's small, is very meaningful. However, we have limited time, and the reality is there will be some trade-offs based on the representation of the customer base. But if you're wondering why the Canadian investment is so little, it's frankly just number of customers. It's not about money. Even if everyone paid $0, it wouldn't matter, because the reality would still be that 19 out of 20 customers are in the US. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Number one, I think OneShop would have a larger Canadian base if they offered more applications and offered like ebay.ca instead of ebay.com, added Etsy, Facebook Marketplace, Grailed. Like, there's so many other platforms that Canadians have access to, and even Americans, that they don't have on their software. So if they're finding that their customer base is smaller, it's because of the services they provide. They don't provide equivalent services to some of the other cross-listing applications that you can use. So to illustrate, I'm going to go back into it, to illustrate how much we care, even despite the representation, this wording gets me. We are registered in every Canadian province, pay Canadian taxes, and even pay more to process Canadian payments. This costs a lot of time and money, which we're happy to do, but goes understandably largely unnoticed. It is not easy to support a country at all, let alone support it with all our features. Okay, so just so you know, we all pay taxes provincially, just like I'm sure you guys pay state taxes. Like, trying to turn that onto us, I don't agree with that. Canadians pay more than US customers, so he said this is a common misconception. The currency conversion is actually surprisingly similar. I agree. I think we can't compare what Canadians pay to what Americans pay. It's all the same dollar per country, you know how it breaks down. Canadians get less and are left behind. So this is objectively true, again, due to the US-centric customer base, but we will continue to support Canada, but we can't prioritize based on Canada. On top of that, we've increased prices once in our entire history from 40 USD to 45 USD in May 2021. But sometimes we will release some support for Canada. This is out of our love for customers. We've done this since the beginning of the company. I don't like this. This sounds like posh love. Stop it. Don't say it's out of love. That did not reflect the comment that you made previously. I saw the outburst and found it disrespectful. Do you not like Canadians? He says, no, I do not dislike Canadians, but I am human. This is a frustrated but a very vocal minority. That doesn't make the response excusable, nor does it mean that you didn't feel disrespected. For that, I am sorry. I can only speak for myself, so let me share where I'm coming from. It's really frustrating to be working on a product where you can't serve a segment of the customer base well because you have limited time and you're very vocal about being neglected. Okay, that is passive aggressive. Okay, I know I'm going to address that later, but him trying to be like making excuses for himself and then deflecting it onto us, I disagree with this, and I'm going to talk about this later because I have my own little blurb. I have worked together with a software company to develop a Canadian side, and they never spoke to me like this. They never said these things to me. They never were like, you're a minority, it doesn't make sense for us to work with you. It was so simple and easy, and I'm going to talk about that later. He also goes on to say, and they're absolutely right about being neglected, and it's okay to share feedback. But what are we to do? There's nothing I can say but to continue working for our customers while getting called out and feeling bad. Stop it, Albert. You're like, big companies don't address their customers like this. I just think this is such a joke. He says, I can't speak for your feelings, and I'm sure they feel horrible to make you feel compelled to post these things, but we feel horrible too when placed in a position where there's frankly not too much to do. Whatever. I'm not going to address this. This sounds like a teenage kid talking. If you're offended, that's a valid feeling, and I can't force you to feel the way you feel. Likely, the only thing we can do is to actually build Canadian support, and this will take time and patience. Complaining about Canadian support doesn't make this much faster. Sometimes it's just not the right time, and you join a product too early. If you're Canadian and would have preferred a heads up, let us know. I'm sure we can figure out something in the app to let folks know that while they can sign up as a Canadian, it's not all ready yet. This gets me fired up. Like, just reading this, just the way he words his apology, but it's like very finger pointing instead of just being like, you know what, I replied to that comment in air. That is not how we feel. We apologize. We are working. We are doing our best. He has to have an excuse for every single thing. People don't want to hear your excuses. Customers don't care about your excuses. And I'm going to say this because we're all in the business of selling. Customers don't care about our excuses, right? He has a lot to learn about running a business. So at the end, Melanie replies, and this is her comment, coming from all Canadians, it was only a response and nothing else that made this decision easy for us. Let me post that response. And I think this was at the point where it was shared into the Facebook group. And I want to say, I know for a fact he did not just lose one subscription. He lost a majority of his customer base from Canada. People are upset. And I'm guaranteeing any Canadians that read his reply, his long-winded, reply to the outburst in the comments were like, take this and shove it up your ass. Like, this is not good enough. Do better. So here's my thoughts. I was very upset last week, very upset when I read about this, because I just thought, how could you make such a blanket statement to Canadians? You can't do that. That's not okay. This is 2023. This is not how we deal with problems. This is not how we address nationalities. Okay, let's just get this straight. Now, I am tired of people using the term passive aggressive. When someone expresses their concerns or their thoughts or their displeasure, she's being upfront. She's not being passive aggressive. Here's the thing. We are Canadian. We will say things. We will say things with a smile. Things will sound in a nice manner. That's just who we are. That's our culture. I had someone call me passive aggressive one time, and I was like, I don't think I am. I'm literally expressing all of my thoughts in a very verbal manner. So passive aggressive is characterized by indirect resistance to the demands of others and avoidance of direct confrontation. There was no avoidance of direct conversation here. She was being explicit. She was telling you what her concerns were and why she wouldn't vote for people to sign up with OneShop. Like, use your terms properly. And in no way was this person acting passive aggressively. Yeah, I think the fact that you even had a customer base that was paying the same amount as your US customers and getting a fraction of the service, you should have been happy with that. You should have taken their money, you should have kept your mouth shut and just ran with it because you were getting paid. Now, you are not getting paid. The other thing I didn't like was him using that term tangentially. I can't even say it. It sounds so weird. So the definition for this one, because I had to look this up. I do not use this every day in my vocabulary. It is not a word that flows out of my mouth when I am talking to someone or addressing an issue. So what it means is in a way that relates only slightly to a matter. So how he used this term, tangentially, honestly, every time Canadians act this passive aggressively, it makes me want to shut down access to Canadians. How about you just say, honestly, every time stop it. He needs to stop. Stop trying to belittle your customers with big words. Stop trying to belittle them with their comments. So much of his posts, to me, are belittling, like looking down at us. You should be thankful for what you get. Your customers were actually okay with your half-assed service. Okay, let's just state that. It was your reaction to their inquest about pricing versus service. That's what upset them the most. Their concerns were valid, and one of the reasons I didn't feel your service would provide enough value to my business. Here's the other thing, and I've spoken with a couple people now that were involved in the incident, and they said they were promised improvements from the beginning. Some would call this seducing, enticing, right? Dangling a carrot in front of them. Unfortunately, there appears to be no desire for them to develop on the Canadian side. And he states that basically saying, you know, Canadians are 1 in every 20. He just cannot put his engineer time into the development of the Canadian side. And he states that in his comments. Now, here's where I'm gonna give my blurb about my personal experience. So I work with PrimeLister. PrimeLister offers cross-listing, relisting, delisting, sharing, price adjusting, an inventory system. They have quite a few services. And when they first came out into the Canadian market, they were actually the first company to offer services to Canadians. And I think Flip came out shortly after, but PrimeLister was the only one. And I jumped on it because I was looking for something to streamline my business. I worked closely with PrimeLister for the first couple months as they were opening up to the Canadian market. I shared screen, I gave them access to my accounts so that they could add the .ca services or websites. And honestly, these took 2 to 3 days max. 2 to 3 days. Hey, I had made a comment about them having ebay.com. Have you guys looked into offering ebay.ca? They literally were like, actually, we've been wanting to do that. Do you think we could do a screen share with you from your eBay account? So we did screen share. There was a couple things they needed that I couldn't share, like that I wasn't understanding how to help them with. And I gave them access to my eBay account. A couple days later, they sent out a new update or whatever, and they had ebay.ca. They work with all Canadian platforms: eBay, Depop, Poshmark, Facebook Marketplace, Etsy. Etsy was another one. I tried to use another service, but they only had those websites in the .com and they didn't have the .ca. So I have personally worked with a software application developer or engineer. I don't even know, I guess by the terms he's using, software engineer, and it wasn't that difficult. There was no like mass amounts of money, mass amounts of time. They did not make me feel bad for making these requests. They were happy to work with me. They were excited to get these things on. That is why I talk so highly about Prime Lister, because I have personally worked with them. Anytime there's a bug or a fix, I reach out to them. Problem is solved within 2 days. Like, I can't speak highly enough of them. Now, I do want to stipulate, I use Closet Tools for my sharing, and more just because I've used Closet Tools for a long time. I have looked at switching, but Closet Tools just works so well for me. They have a few features that other sharing bots or whatever, I feel like don't work the same way, and maybe it's just a personal preference. But Prime Lister does offer sharing, but I do use Closet Tools for that. So yeah, I kind of wanted to state that out there. Like, even though he makes it sound like it's such a difficult thing and it takes time and money, I have personally worked with a software developer and the changes happened quite quickly and very easily. And anytime there's been an issue, problems have been fixed. So I don't know what their issue is, but I don't believe that. That's just my own 2 cents. And that's from my own personal experience of dealing with someone. So yeah, I was fired up, same as all these people that were paying for the service. I don't blame them. There's nothing worse than sharing your frustration about a service and them jumping on you. And that's exactly what he did. This was not the first time, and obviously he says that this is not the first time Canadians have had an issue with his service. So here's my thing. Why not address it? Why not talk about this? These people felt like no one was replying to their comments. No one was addressing the issues. They felt like they were just being ignored. And this is just the first time a comment blew up. I think it was bound to happen. I think his response to the whole situation is a direct reflection of him and his company. Unfortunately, when you're the face for a company and you don't have good PR skills, you're kind of the one dragging them down. So I'm sorry to hear about this. I hope that anyone that's felt led on by this situation or was with them, OneShop, and has read these things, there are other software applications out there that do more stuff, deal with more platforms, deal with Canadian websites, and don't make you feel bad about it. So this is my 2 cents. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. If you are in this situation, is there anything else you want to share? I think it's okay to express how you feel in this video. I'm okay with it. I'm not going to jump down your throat. I'm not going to make you feel stupid about it. But I do think that what happened isn't okay, and his response as an apology, not acceptable. So that's my 2 cents. I had to address this. Rarely is there like something gossip worthy that is like Canadian based, and this hit home for me, so I'm happy to cover it. I hope this sheds some light on the situation, and if you were a part of it, feel free to drop down in the comments and share your thoughts. Okay guys, I am out of here. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. If you're new, make sure you tap subscribe, and I will see you next time. I'm wishing you guys all many sales. Bye.